Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Siege action-packed night of the Nova Tournament. Playday-9 it is today, one of the last we have for you guys before we move into our playoffs, but we have more information on that in just a little while. But in the meantime, let's welcome KJ and special guest, Chef Jeff. KJ, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good, Elijah, and obviously it's our last play day, and there's tons of stuff to get excited for in the future of this tournament. But Jeff, how are we feeling today, my boy?
Awesome. We have a lot of games lined up for you guys to enjoy today for the Playday-9, so let's have a look at those before we move into our predictions. But our very first game coming up very shortly. Very exciting one, normally, because we have a few forfeits today, as our first game was forfeited, Arena, forfeiting to NDE, causing them for their win. But Nutty Gaming will be our first game today. They will be going up against Trident before we move into our 8:30 game, which Panic will go up against Bandits before our very last one, Altered Edge into Naughty Sausages. Now, Nutty Gaming versus Trident. How are we feeling about those boys?
I think Nutty Gaming versus Trident is definitely gonna sort of move around that mid-table as well, and I think it's going to be an important match for this last play day for those leaderboard positions. But just both good teams, both good players, both bunch of good people as well. So I'm very keen for that one. And then obviously we have the other two games ahead of that, and just some good games all around, Elijah. But Chef, what are your thoughts on these games?
Absolutely. So, in terms of all that, let's see what we thought about it as a sort of staff team ourselves and the predictions. Obviously, the chat has their predictions with themselves, but we have our own here, and we have a good little look at that here. As we can see, majority of us picked almost the same things with just a few little different ones here. I predicted my good NDE. Obviously, that was a forfeit. That was a pretty easy one to take. But Trident, our boys here, always that you will notice that KJ and I, we do love predicting our Trident, which majority of us did. But Chef Jeff, he likes to think otherwise. He wants to go for that Nutty Gaming instead of Trident.
Yes, I do. I have I got a varying opinion on that game, but I think that Trident, given their momentum right now, it could go their way. But I think that Nutty are a pretty strong team, and they're higher up in the leaderboard at the moment for a reason. So I reckon they'll take it home.
That's definitely a good statement to make. I like that.
I think with the way that Nutty has been playing, they're definitely a good contender against Trident. It just all depends on how they're feeling on the day. Obviously, it was a bit of a close game last week for them, and they did lose it, right? They did lose on that Villa map, and it was a rather close game for a little while, and then they lost their grip on it. So I wonder if that's going to sort of get into the mentals of today's game, but. Obviously, we all agreed that Panic would win, apart from Ling and Kratos. They reckon that that Bandits will take that second one. What are your thoughts, Elijah?
Now, I had to change my prediction a little bit. I was going to pick Bandits at first, but through recently, I felt like Bandits, they're doing a little bit of a slip at the moment. And against Panic as well, which is a formidable team throughout the entire tournament, other than dropping that one game where they went back to Oregon earlier into the play days. But I think they've worked out their issues, Panic, themselves. And I think that they're going to, not drop another game. Their momentum is just as good as I would like to say the rest of the teams are. But I had to switch it up. I had to go against Bandits this time and go with my boys at Panic.
I went with Panic for the reason that Panic's just a very solid team in the tournament. I think their loss to Trident was a matter of them underestimating the team, as they were at the bottom of the leaderboard at the time, and the fact that Trident had prepared for that Oregon game very well. But I think Bandits' weakness right now is clearly they're struggling against the stronger teams in the tournament. Their loss to Kill Squad last week is definitely indicative of that. So I think that game could go either way. But there is very interesting conditions around that game as well when we get to the leaderboard. But yeah, no, I think that game could definitely go either way, but I'm leaning towards a Panic.
Speaking of the leaderboard, though, this is where we have our standings. Now, Kill Squad taking that first spot, followed by Panic, and obviously you guys can see the rest. But all of this is a solid, other than today, that'll be a huge part in terms of our bracket, which Chef Jeff, he knows all about and how it works.
Yeah, so basically there are the 3 games tonight. There are 2 divisions of it. The top 3 it's going to shift based on that Panic Bandits game. If Panic win that game at all, they will finish in the first position. And Bandits, they need to win that game 7-3 or better to get into that pole position with a better round differential. That's like as close as it can get. So if Bandits win 7-4 or worse, that's just going to leave Kill Squad in first place where they sit right now due to the 3 points and 7 rounds added to their round differential from that forfeit win. But then we look at the middle of the pack between Nutty, Naughty Sausages, Trident, and Altered Edge. That's all very close. 12, 11, 11, and 10. That's a very small gap. And with the 2 games played tonight, there are a lot of scenarios that can lead to changing results in the leaderboard and to see who will finish where. Now, for that middle of the pack, we do have 2 certainties. Nutty will be in playoffs, and Altered Edge can't make that top 4 spot. Now, Altered Edge's position, very tentative. They do need to win to solidify themselves in playoffs. They will be starting in the lower bracket if they do, and they're definitely going to need their star players to show up tonight. Trident, they're playing Nutty. It's going to be a close game. Trident want to win that. That's their only shot at making top 4. And Nutty just need to get like a point on the board in a lot of cases. A win solidifies top 4 for them. They'll start in the upper bracket, and that's very strong for them. But then when we look at Naughty Sausages, they're in that middle part. They're in between everything. They're very likely to play in playoffs. There's not many instances where they miss it. They just need to get a point or get the win on the board, and that's like their best path towards getting themselves into playoffs. I think that this is a very a heated night, very packed, full of a lot of games that are going to mean a lot for the standings. Everything can still change, and I just can't wait to see how you guys take it away. KJ, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's a good testament to show how close that middle part of the leaderboard is, and throughout the season how those teams have been fighting to get up and try and make themselves more known on that leaderboard. And it's just an interesting thought to see that it comes down to the final play day, and so many different outcomes can happen based on who wins and who loses. And I think it'll be interesting to see who makes it into those playoffs, which you'll be talking about very soon. But yeah, I think, last day, I'm keen to see it all, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, so going back to the predictions, I think that these games, there's a lot of implications going around. So, Elijah, KJ, you guys going with Trident. So you guys think it's going to be regulation? Do you think it's going to be close? Do you think Trident are going to wipe them out? How do you guys think that's going to go? Elijah, what do you think?
Now, judging by just the momentum that Trident has been going as well, and not only that, but Nutty coming off a loss that was pretty hectic. It was a close game, don't get me wrong, but it was definitely a lot of mistakes there, so that's definitely got to get into the mental of Nutty. Now with Trident, with the confidence that they have and the ego that they've built up through just winning game after game after team, you can imagine that they're quite confident in themselves, and in a game like this, I gotta say confidence, it puts you on a very good high ground to have. Now, Trident, I'm going to say that it's going to be a sweep here. They're so confident. Their teamwork together has just built over and over throughout the last few playdays. They're just getting better by the day. So I'm going to say Trident with a good sweep here.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Elijah. I don't know about the sweep, though. I think that it might be a close game. It really depends on the map that they go to. Obviously, if it's a map that they've been prepping for with Sali, we know how much work he puts in. If he's done a little bit of homework on Nutty, maybe they know the map that they're going to and can be better prepared for it, like we've seen in previous weeks. But if it's not, if it's sort of a wild card sort of map and Nutty have the better grip on it, then I guess it's going to be a tough one. I think it'll be a very, very close game, and Trident, I believe that they'll just be able to win it out. But yeah, I think it all depends on the map that we'd be going to for that one. But match 3, Panic versus Bandits, Chef.
What are you guys thinking? So you guys have predicted Panic as well. Now, we're clearly both in the same boat. We're clearly seeing Panic as that first place contender. But in the possibility that Bandits do come ahead, do you seriously think that there's a possibility that they're going to be able to edge ahead and get that 7-3 win to get themselves into first place? Like, Elijah, do you think that's actually going to be possible, or do you think it's like not in the realm of possibility at all?
It's always possible in a game like Siege. It's absolutely doable, but like it's a hard thing to ask from them, especially how well Panic have been playing. So I mean, it's doable. I believe that Bandits have the capability to do so, especially if they manage to work out all of the little dents that they had in their last playdays. But they can come back just as strong, and they can show up to Panic, because Panic, they have made mistakes before. They have room to do it again. So I believe it's doable, but it's a lot to ask for.
It is, and I think with the way that, if Panic know about that 7-3 as well, if they don't necessarily have to win the game, but if they can stop Bandits from taking that first place, then maybe that's all that they have in mind at the very minimum. And, they can at least get that 7-4 loss or something like that. But I'd say that if Panic, with the way that they play as well, they like to, play a little bit crazy, bit hectic. And if they can get into the heads of Bandits, I think it could be GG for them, because I don't know. I feel like once things start to go on a bit of a loss for them, they start to play a little bit worse. So I think if Panic can capitalize off that, we'll see another Panic win here. But yeah, it all depends. It all depends on the way that Panic's feeling today. If their star players can perform, and if they can really get in the heads of Bandits, it's GG for them. But match 4, Chef.
Altered Edge versus Naughty Sausages. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm just going to say this is going to be a wild card game. This could go either way. I don't know how each team is playing. They could be one day off, one day on. Altered Edge have been kind of off for the majority of the season. They're starting to make a comeback, starting to push for the playoffs position. I could see this game going anywhere. Ideally, Altered Edge want to win in regulation. They want those 3 points. Now, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's probably going to go overtime. But Elijah, starting with you, where do you think this is going to go? Because you're leaning towards Altered Edge.
I think
Elijah's...
we've lost him.
We've lost Elijah. Okay, KJ?
It's me. I'm on Altered Edge. I think, I did say that Altered Edge would win. And I think that's just purely because I think that they're, with what you said earlier, they're really wanting to be in that those playoffs. And with the way that Naughty Sausages have been playing, they've not necessarily been playing bad, but I'd like to say that they definitely could be playing a little bit better here and there. And I think Altered Edge, just as a team, they've been playing with each other a little bit longer. So I think they just have that little bit of an edge over Naughty Sausages. But like you said, I think that last game there will definitely be an OT game, because although I say that Altered Edge have been playing with each other for a bit longer and I think they're a little bit more comfortable, they do tend to make a lot of mistakes. And I think, I think those mistakes, they'll fix it up and they'll clutch up, but an overtime game for sure, I reckon.
I think we've just gotten Elijah back. Elijah, you got any thoughts on the Altered Edge Naughty Sausages game?
Boys. Yeah, like I was going to say, Altered Edge versus Naughty Sausages, I've seen both the teams play against each other. They're definitely, I would say, on an even ground for each other. So I got to agree with you. Definitely a wild card of a game. There's no real way I'm really predicting on which one will take the win. I had a little bit of a rough time picking between the two, because I've seen Naughty Sausages and how well they play, but I've also seen Altered Edge. Now, I had to go with Altered Edge, because just from what I've seen from them personally, I think that they have the capability to run through Naughty Sausages. Not completely, though, because Naughty Sausages are definitely going to put up a fight. So I could definitely say it's going to be an overtime game. I got to agree with KJ there for sure. I got to say that's going to be the closest game of this evening.
Yeah. All right, well, Look, I can't wait to see the games be played. I think they're going to be great. I think that it's just going to be such a good evening just to see the leaderboard shape as to where it is, because it's insane that we can get to the 9th play day and everything can still move around as much as it is. But I'll be back later in the evening to discuss the playoffs bracket. We've got a lot of good games to come, all three, and you guys can just take it away from here. Best of luck.
Thank you very much, Chef Jeff.
Thank you,
But
Chef.
we will head into our very first game of today. Nutty Gaming going up against Trident, where we'll be able to see which map they decide to take us to, as both the players are ready. And we will be going to an Oregon. Now, we haven't really seen an Oregon that much recently. It has been what was common in the very first few playdays. Every single team was just running it back and back and back. And it got to a point where we were a little bit tired of it. But we get to welcome Oregon back. It was either that or a Villa. Now, it was Nutty Gaming's choice to go to Oregon. They get the comfortability to start out on that defense, which we like to talk about, especially downstairs being really defender-sided. What are we thinking about Oregon, KJ?
Well, it's funny that the last map was Villa too, so Nutty not banning it straight away. So maybe, you know, even though they lost it the week prior, maybe they were confident that, you know, maybe they could win it this time round, and they've fixed their mistakes, that sort of thing. But Oregon is the map. And we've seen both these teams, I'm pretty sure, play this map before, but not as, you know, as recent of times. But it's, I think it fits their playstyle, like, quite well. I think both teams, they love to play that structure. They love to play and sort of work out those executes that they want to go for. So I think a map like Oregon, it definitely allows them to sort of do that. But we can only have one winner, Elijah, and it really depends on who's doing it better today. So will it be Nutty or will it be Trident? We both think Trident. Chef thinks that Nutty will take this one. I guess we'll see as the chaos will unfold very, very shortly.
Well, there's one thing that you got to keep in mind against Oregon specifically, not just about the basis, but in terms of these two teams specifically. Trident, early on in the play days, this map specifically, Oregon, is what took their 7-0 against Panic, which were the top team at the time. So you can imagine that Trident are quite experienced in attacking and defending, considering how well they did it against Panic. But obviously each team has their own play style, so Nutty will have to adjust themselves in terms of their defense to see how well they can show up. But first ban will go out though, and that'll be that OSA. Now it's commonly used for that meeting site in terms of that stage, but it can be used just pretty much anywhere else. Flores, he is to be banned out as well. Now we all love those Interra drones. You know how much of an impact in the map it'll have.
We do. We also love the doggo that Glut has there with a little Stitch hat. But the the first ban of the defense, and we've seen this being banned quite a lot now in Oregon. It's Smoke, and I think that's a very, very influential and strong ban on a map like this, and definitely helps on those attacks on that basement site specifically. But Valkyrie to be the second one to follow, and that'll be that intel, those black eyes off the boards. No cheeky sort of C4s on those top floor sites, or, you know, hidden intel for the defense. But that leaves open the mirror, the Solus, so I wonder if either team is going to use that. But so far, Nutty, they're just keeping it sort of classic, keeping it standard, not running anything too crazy, apart from that Echo on that on this site. So that's a rather interesting pick.
Well, that there's their own little version of trading out their denial. You know, their Smoke was banned, so they're going to have to bring something else instead. Now you have the options to pick between the Echo. You could also even run to Chunker now, because that has become its own little denial as of lately as well, with the changes that have come to him, not only with his ability, but him having that 2-time scope. You've noticed that a lot of players are running him a lot more than recently. But you also have that Goyo, which we've seen majority of the teams run in the past, but they're not opting to take it on their side upstairs at least.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, Goyo, we talk about it time and time again, how strong it is, especially on a map like this where, you know, the executes, especially with the teams like this that like to play it and really work out the executes that they want to do. Having that Goyo able to pop it in those last few seconds to deny that explosion is so vital on a map like this. So I think not running it, you know, maybe Nutty have different plans, and Ducko, he's going to take out Shuri off the board, so definitely looking to be a little bit more aggressive here on Oregon.
That's definitely how you like to play it. Getting that very first pick is huge and detrimental for the rest of the round, because then you could essentially play back with the rest of your team and just play trades from there. Now it's all up for Trident to try and work back this kill to get to that even man advantage, but you can see the way that Nutty Gaming are playing. They're playing around each other. They're using that refrag potential to make sure that they keep those man advantages up. They are working on a little bit of a pinch now. Pew's made his way to White Stairs as well, while they're taking the rest of the control from Shower Hall across, doing a little bit of a horizontal clear. Now Papa is able to clear up a kill, finds 2 for himself as well to bring that advantage back into Trident's favor.
Yeah, Taz, not just finding the even man count, not just finding 1, but finding 2 down there on the lurk below. That's a bit of a misplay from Nutty. They lost their yay, they lost their alibi. Obviously all their util is on the board, but having 2 men down so early in the round, and we're only approaching that halfway mark, it could definitely hurt them going later into this round. As Trident, they're going to start to do this vert, try and get any pressure onto that double window, and Rain, he's going to take some damage from that kid's window there, so they're going to be careful not to bleed any more picks as it comes to the final minute. They want to sort of delay the time of Trident, try and waste as much time, but no, Rain, he's just going to take him out, and that'll be Zebby. That's your buck off the board, so no more vert from below, apart from that Ash, who's tearing up the floor so nicely, but Pew with a trade back onto Squish, and it's all looking very, very close right now for Nutty and Trident, Elijah.
Yes, it's back to a 2-3 for both of these teams, and with the denial still being available on the side of Nutty Gaming. But you'll have to trade a gun if you want to try to play that time. Now, there is 40 seconds left on the clock for both of these teams, but this is what Tridents are good at doing. They're utilizing those very last crucial seconds of the round to get exactly what they need to set themselves up. Pew's going to find the very first pick, go for the second, but Glut with a nice trade is going to bring it down to an even rougher position, but he's rotated off the site. Now, he still has both of his yokai drones available, I believe, so he can use this to deny that plant, but I don't know if he has it in the right position, and he doesn't. They'll be able to get the plant off successfully. 43 seconds, and it is ticking. Both for Trident to reposition and Papa to find the 3rd kill in his round, and they'll take their first win.
Very, very good frags for him, and very good opening round for this matchup entirely. And I think, you know, even though Trident take that round, Nutty definitely made it close here and there. I think they bled a few picks towards the mid to late round, and it was rather unfortunate. I think that play downstairs where Taz not only finding 1 but finding 2, that was a real kicker for Nutty. I think next time, you know, if they do lose that one, finding that trade there, it wouldn't have been as bad, but losing both, it's not a good look. But they're gonna try and move things around, keep the ball rolling. They're gonna go downstairs into that basement, but they're keeping that echo, and hopefully Glut this time can have those yokais in better positions if it does come down to it to shut down that plant. But once again, we're not seeing any Goyos, so they're not utilizing that sort of denial. They are more comfortable with these C4s and these yokai drones. So hopefully this route, you know, this time round, they can shut down this push from Trident and really bite back.
Well, like you said, they are heading downstairs, which should alleviate some of the pressure in terms of defending, because downstairs, we like to say, it is a more defender-sided. You know, in terms of stats as well, it's just reigning true even more. So they're going to have to see how they can hold up against the Trident attack. You can see that they're going for a usual default. Trident looking to grab this big tower first, up into the T3, but it is already being contested, so you have to be a little bit careful. Trident needing to get a little bit of info onto where Ajax is playing before that they can blindly side into the tower. Now Papa, he's going to be the person to contest. He's going to do a little bit of a drone work to see if he can funnel out any of the players, but look at that. Sweat is already in the master bedroom, and with a nice little intel being shared between each other, he's able to pick up their very first blood in the round. Oh. Look at that. The yellow pings all across the board, just doing damage all for Nutty Gaming. They haven't got any room to breathe.
Yeah, it seems that Trident, they're just clicking right now. They're working off each other really, really well, and Ducko almost finding a nasty little angle through that freezer hatch onto the vert, but unfortunately no bullets connect. Squish is quite low from the engagement earlier, and I think for the most part Trident, doing a rather good roam clear here. They've found one pick, so they can sort of slow things down, take their time a little bit more, but they can't take too much time, otherwise they'll run out on the execute. You know, the site is downstairs, so they got to be careful with that. And that hatch in meeting is electrified, so they're going to sort of deal with that. So Dokkaebi, she needs to stay alive. They're going to utilize the buck or the ace to open that hatch. But I'd imagine Raindrops, he could be tricky. He doesn't have one in hand, but he might be able to pick it up. I don't know where he's placed it, but maybe he doesn't want to trick it.
Well, he was roaming upstairs just for a little bit, and maybe he has the room to do it. They're trying to get a little bit of intel. We've seen teams like this struggle on the E-box, so you can't mess it up here, and there he is below the hatch, tricking it up. So if you don't get it open in time, which I believe they did successfully, nope, it was a little bit of a failed one. So E-box hatch, it will remain closed. Now that puts Trident in a hard position. That forces them to rotate to pick either going for that laundry, which you can see majority of the players of Trident have rotated to do. They'll probably go for a freezer control as well. Now Papa's going to find a kill for himself for Trident and take it to a 2v5. So it's still very much advantageous, but little less so for time.
Yeah, they're just losing these picks here and not able to trade it back. The call's going to go out there. 30 seconds on the board. They are dropped. Duck does find one. Forced to reload though, and there's two in freezer. They find the trade back, and it's all just chaos unfolding here. Zebi finds a second. Last is on the elbow. He's able to down one. He's able to find the second. He finishes him off. Glut once again in a clutch situation. Pew is down. It's a 1v1.
Oh!
He finds it, Elijah.
Wow! Glut. If there was anybody to have in that position, it was Glut and the Echo as well, and thankfully he can clutch it out for his team and bring it back to that even count on the scoreboard to a 1-1. But what a statement to make to bring it back as well. Trident, you gotta be a little bit more careful.
Yeah, even though, you know, Nutty won that round, they still got to be careful. They can't be allowing Gluttony to be put in those situations. As good as he is, that is still, you know, a round that you should sort of be scratching your heads and being like, how did we sort of get to this point? How did we lose these picks and not able to trade them back? Luckily, they've got Glut on their side and was able to perform such crazy feats, but he can't be expected to do that round and round again. So we're back to that 1-1 scoreline, back to even to Steven. Well, they're going to be more careful going into these later rounds of their defense. We're back on that kids at dorm site, so they want to give this site another go before they go to any sort of tertiary sites. But similar sort of lineups, nothing too out of the ordinary, Elijah.
I mean, they're heading back upstairs, like you said. Now, they're going to see if they can work out the problems that they had last time, because Trident, they made quick work of them, especially from their shower halls across. They cleared out their roamers really, really quickly. Now, if you're on the roaming side for them, you want to be able to buy your team a little bit more time before the eventual collapse becomes onto the site. We get to see how they can push up, but you can see the adaptation coming out from Trident to sort of push a different position. Last time they did their showers across, this time they're doing a direct into Master, and they've got all the util to do so as well, being able to clear out those ADSs with the Ash charges and the Zophias as well, to make sure that that shield that they have placed up is dealt with. They don't longer have to worry about that angle, and that's going to push him off of the position. But Ducko is downstairs into split, looking to get a pick of his own, but he's unable to find one just of yet.
Yeah, and it seems that Trident, they're doing really well with this util clearing. They were able to clear that shield in trophy pretty much straight away. They knew how many ADSs they needed to burn, and there we go. They're finding the opening pick once again, and that's Raindrops to fall, so potential C4 off the board. Obviously, all these mute jammers, but a run out. You know, Sweat was shooting, but Pew's Claymore will find the pick, and that's Ajax. Once again, Nutty in a 3v5 deficit, Elijah, and I don't quite know what the play is here from them.
I think they are definitely trying to get aggressive against Trident, but a team that is this well thought out and strategic when they know that they have all of their angles covered, it's a little bit hard to do. You know, those sort of cheeky plays won't fly against Trident, and that has clearly put them in a very hard position to be in. A 5v3 left for both of these teams. Nutty Gaming need to sort of get some of these picks back, but all the control of Attic has been forfeited. Glut's going to find one to try to bring it back, and Squish is going to find one of his own. He'll find two, matter of fact, but not before Papa and Zach can find their own, and that'll leave it down to a 1v1. And Glut was able to clutch this last time, and he's looking to do it again. Still in a 1v1, doing a huge amount of damage, but for both of these sides, leaving it down to just about 50 HP for both Zebi and Glut. 53 seconds, and Glut will clutch the round twice in a row, and they'll take their team 1 ahead. A 2-1 lead.
Glut is... I said that he can't do it again, but he does it again, man. They put him in that situation where he just has to do it, and Glut, you know, it was a little bit of an awkward engagement in that 1v1, but he won it nonetheless, and I think there was some technical issues from Duckos who's going to sort that one out, but once again, Nutty, they find the round, but just by the sort of, I don't know, like that tiny thread, Elijah. They're finding that tiny thread that they need, and somehow finds the win. But for Trident, they're looking so good, looking so strong, but then on those executes, it's falling apart. So don't quite know what the issue is there.
They just can't seem to deal with Glut specifically. Now, he's doing a lot of damage to them. And it's almost like Trident, they're really well put together, right? They know exactly what they're doing in terms of their roam clearing, you know, their checklist. They're really good at that. But when it comes down to their initial execute, maybe they're getting in a little bit of their heads, right? They've got that confidence there that they think that they can just run through out because they've got those 2 other frags, right? With confidence, no issues, no damage done there. But as soon as they go for their execute, they're punished immediately because they aren't ready for Glut specifically, by the looks of it at the moment.
Yeah, I think, you know, Glut, maybe it was the pats from that doggo. I don't know. He's got the buff, you know. Right now, he's unstoppable. And he is playing that Echo, so it's not like he should be taking active engagements here and there, but he's sort of forced to in those clutch situations, and he's able to turn those situations into round wins. So I think that's very sort of formidable with the role that he's playing. But it's sort of a question to your team, like how are you allowing you to sort of be put into that situation? So I think, you know, with this pause, although they are 2-1 up, if they continue to do that, I think that Trident might catch on into what Nutty is doing, and they might find some round wins of their own. But I think for Nutty, they should take this time to sort of work out where are we going wrong? Why are we bleeding these 2 picks with no sort of response, and that sort of conversation before they go into round 4, so that they can win rounds of their own, and before they go into that attack for themselves, they can be, you know, nicely set up in terms of the round difference. And I think we did talk about the importance of this game and this play day entirely, so it's all or nothing here, Elijah.
Yeah, the pressure is definitely on, and I've got to agree with your entire statement. Trident, they need to come back here, otherwise it'll be very hard comeback for them. They need to work out their little issues. Of course, they are starting out on that attack, so it should be easier on the switch up, but relying on that switch up is never a good idea because you never know what's going to happen. It is a game of Siege, and we've seen the unpredictable become true. Now, we just got to wait for those players to come back in just a few seconds, but how are you thinking that this is going so far? Because I'm surprised. This is a different Trident than what we've seen. Normally, we've seen Trident, they're so strong. You know, they're very thought together, very structured. And by the looks of it at the moment, they're fumbling a little bit. You know, they're slipping over and just letting those little tiny gaps in their attack defense just slip up.
I think it's got something to do with those executes. Whoever, you know, whatever they're calling on those executes, or whatever the plan is when they sort of explode, something's not like clicking. Everything's clicking with the early to mid round. They're finding those opening picks. They're getting the control that they need. But I think maybe it's the rush coming in and the adrenaline on those executes. Maybe they need a little bit more time to work out the positions of those players. Maybe they're not doubling up enough to find the correct trades. Like, obviously, that last round, it did come down to a 1v1, but they had that man advantage of a 5v3. Then they lost 2 to Squish, and I do believe 1 to Gluttony. Maybe 1 to Raindrops as well. So, like, there was just picks everywhere. And, you know, in a 5v3 situation, you would imagine that if you're going to explode and go for those refrags, you should come out on top of that scenario. But not sort of coming out on top, that's a big issue. And allowing someone to find 2 kills when you have someone behind you, that's sort of an issue. So maybe there was some missed shots. You know, you can't always hit your shots. Maybe it's a bit of an unpredictable play by Squish. We didn't get to quite see the engagement, but it all comes down to those factors, you know. And if you are Trident, then I think, you know, keep up that good early to mid round work, and then work on those executes in terms of, finding those traits, finding that control, and maybe get that plant down, and maybe you can find some round wins. But for Nutty, I think they just need to stop giving those early picks. By the looks of it, Trident, they're struggling on their executes, so play off of that and abuse that idea that they are struggling with those executes.
And the good thing about this rehost is that you get to sort of take it back a little bit. You get to think about those mistakes that you were making. So that could very well be what Trident are doing. They could just be having a little bit of an analyzing situation to see, damn, our early to mid round, that's great, that's perfect. Like, we don't need to fix up anything there. We've got everything locked down, their angles, they're working together, they're doing really well. But obviously when it comes to the explosion, like you said, they're struggling a little bit. So that gives them, this rehost, the time just to sit back and work on that specifically, as well for Nutty Gaming to see if they can work on their early game within themselves, because they are struggling. They are being a little bit too aggressive against Trident, who are very, very structured, and not letting them get away with those little aggressive plays that they are trying on in terms of run outs, spawn peaks, things like that. So maybe they can work on their own little early game and keep this momentum going of hopefully not clutches. You can't rely on Glut to clutch every single round, but obviously your team can enable you to make these clutches, which we can't completely rule out.
That is true, and with the intel that they have, maybe those Yokai cams are feeding him that intel, when to swing and when to sort of take those engagements. But we're going to go to a site that we haven't seen quite yet, so this is the real deal breaker. Can Nutty find round wins on all three sites, get them that 3-1 up, or is Trident going to sort of wake up a little bit and really shut them down here on this meeting kitchen site? Now, this is the common of the two tertiary sites, so a lot of teams aren't as how do I like to say, not as uncomfortable with the way that this site is played. But it's not like you attack this all the time. Obviously, that kids' dorms and that basement site is the favorable of the two. So hopefully they have a sort of idea in mind on how they want to approach this. Because we do see that they bring that castle, and they don't have access to a sledge. So hopefully they can utilize that sweat on the Ash to take down those castles and really pressure Nutty into their lines of sight. Now, it looks like they're going to go for a big tower take. They don't have access to that OCE, though, obviously being banned off. So a little bit harder to go for those executes on that big tower if you don't have that shield to sort of play safe behind. So going to be an interesting one to see how they play this, Elijah.
Yeah, definitely not having access to that OSA completely changes the way that you try to push this, because it adds so much safety being behind that shield that you have available that you can see through as well. You normally would see teams put one upstairs to contest the attic, and you have one downstairs for that sort of high grounder of that shield play in terms of getting that diffuser down. Now, there's so much advantages that come with having that OSA available, and luckily they'll be able to shut it down. And maybe just because of that, if they're not too careful, it can help them get another win, and Trident will take another loss, and that'll take it to another little advantage of them. But they're already trying to get that main wall open. Ducko find the very first blood into this round onto Zebi, and that removes your Habana. Now that's one of your two hard breaches already removed. Now you have to rely on the ace. Now he doesn't have that much versatile. He only has those 3 ace charges. Now you have to think about it carefully on how you use those. It looks like most of them have been used.
Yeah, but Shuri, he was able to find the pick on the squish, but then he nades himself. No. Maybe it sort of bounced off that little bit of metal there on the wall. That is unfortunate. Losing a pick, not to the enemy, but to yourself. It does happen. Those nades can be brutal if not timed right, but they do get the pings. They know of Glut's position, but unfortunately Ajax is there to back him up. Ducko to find the second onto Sweat, and it's all left to Taz in a 1v4, and Trident slowly losing their grip on this game. Can Taz, though, bring it back? Does he have clutch potential of his own? If not, they should take this time to sort of work out what's going wrong for them. What is happening?
Looks like he could be doing just that, playing that passive, just to give a little bit of a talk to the rest of your team. You've got 42 seconds left to do so, so use this wisely if you are on the side of Trident. Now, a 4v1, that's a lot to ask for. So the best thing you can do is really just beg for time. Maybe bait for kills, maybe get some props up for yourself. But the Echo Drone's going to spot you out as well, do some stuns. Yellow pings to go out as well. Thatcher to be thrown to try to deny it, but Raindrops is already there and ready for the kill. Nutty Gaming, They're on a streak. A 3 streak.
They are. They've been able to pull things from nowhere in the rounds prior, but that was a lot more dominant from them. They were able to secure that victory pretty well. So timeout from Trident. I think that's a good choice. You know, they did just have that reset before, but it's better to sort of figure out what you're doing now. You're in this situation where you're 2 rounds down. You need to at least find one more attack win to, you know, sort of be a little bit more beneficial for you on that switch up. But like you mentioned earlier, you don't want to rely on that. You want to win these next 2 rounds and even up things here in this first half so that when you go onto that defense, you have a better chance of winning this game entirely. Now, I think Trident, they just need a reset. They need to work together because a lot of those picks were solo engagements, and you know, obviously that nade kill was a little bit unlucky. So, you know, it's better to throw your nade early and it not find the pick than to, you know, it find your own body being the victim of it. So I think, you know, Shuri, he's going to be a little bit more careful with those. Maybe the bounce, the trajectory. He's going to do a bit more mathematics. And he's going to find that perfect Kobe arc, and I reckon we might see a nade kill from him. He's going to make up for it. But basement site now, and they're doing a little bit of a change on one of the operators. They're running that Solus now, so they're really trying to get into these pre-placed drones and shut down the comfortability of taking the map control from Trident. You know, they are on the back foot now, and playing into their heads of eliminating those pre-placed drones is definitely going to help you achieve that. So we'll see if Ajax can shut down any drones, and it seems that he's already shut down. They've already shut down 3, so only 7 more drones left on the board for Trident, and it's only the prep phase, Elijah. I know.
Well, that's exactly what you need to do. All right, up against Trident, their information is just so superior. They're really good at those pre-placed drones, and already the first pick for Nutty is coming out, already removing that ace of all the people as well. Cheeky little spawn peek to drop the diffuser and leave it there and bring Nutty into a very advantageous round. They still have the can openers on the buck. They no longer have their Zephyr with Ajax finding a kill of his own. Now they're really face checking against Trident now, putting them in a hard stuck position with only 3 members left remaining.
Yeah, I think this isn't the same Trident we saw in the first round. Nutty, they've got a better grip on the game now, and they've sort of woken up a lot. And the aggression that they were doing early round is finally paying dividends for them. So they can sort of play a little bit passive now, not throw any more picks. They should have this round in the bag if they play it right. Remember, the site is downstairs, and Trident, only 3 members on the board. They still have to clear this entire, you know, first floor before they can move to the basement. Unless they attack directly from that bunker, they have to do so. Otherwise, they're going to have that flank potential open for Nutty. And calls are going to go out, reveal some sound cues for the attacking side. But they've got the intel from the Echo, and he's going to be feeding all of that information to his team, and he's stunning the enemy in the process. So just delaying more time, Elijah.
He's really pushing back. They are trying to get a pinch on. Shuri is going to find a pick of his own before Nutty. They decide to read into that and try to get back to the site unpunished. Now a little bit of damage being done in return to Ajax trying to weave through that pick, but nothing to come out of it, and they'll take themselves to a 4-3 situation. Still advantageous for Nutty, especially in terms of the util that they have left, but they still got those 2 AMPs. They still got the can openers. They can make something happen, but with the amount of time that is left on the clock, it's a lot to ask for. They have to get going now, and they need to get their execute moving very fast and swiftly.
They do, but they could open that E-box hatch if they would want to, because that Cade, he is not tricking that currently, but Ajax able to find Taz on the bottom of those laundry stairs, and it's all left to Zebi and Shu on low HP to sort of clutch this out. Need to go out, nothing to come of it yet, but it will clear the shield. But 27 seconds on the board. Can they make something work? Shuri finds a nice shot to the head of Gluttony there. Clutch potential down. But they still have 3 members on the board. And Raindrops, he's able to shut down Shuri. And he's able to find the second. And Trident, they're in a tough spot now. Nutty, they're up 4-1. One more round of the half. And Trident, they need to find this second. Make that 4-2 split. Otherwise, on the defense, they got to win all 5 to at least guarantee that overtime.
Nutty Gaming waking up and finding themselves their streak. They're definitely comfortable on Oregon, that's for sure. That'll definitely reign true for them, but Trident, they need to wake up. Now, they can do just as good in defense. You know, not all is lost. They have won one of their attacks, but you got to hope that Nutty... You got to hope that they're good at their attack as well. You know, we don't like to see those games where one team just favor the defense and then on the switch up it's completely close. I mean, that will take us to that overtime match, which we love seeing. We love seeing teams completely fight as hard as they can, especially when the pressure is this huge going into these later times of the week of the Nova tournament. But I'm feeling a bit nervous for Trident at the moment. They haven't seemed to find a footing.
They really haven't, but we've seen this sort of situation come before, and you said that, like, on the switch-up, you know, things happen, and we saw for Nutty last week on Villa, you know, the switch-up, that was detrimental for them, so I think anything can happen, and hopefully for Nutty, they don't lose their footing, and they can continue, but for Trident, they need to find some momentum of their own, and sort of have an answer to what Nutty is throwing at them, because right now they can't stop any of it. It's an unstoppable force, and it's going to be very hard to come back from if they can't shut it down, at least here in round 6.
You can tell they're trying to play it a little bit differently, utilizing that Blackbeard shield. Not even trying too hard to clear out the roamers, sort of just going for a direct. Now, if it does work out for them, taking it out really fast, taking that denial out would be huge. If you manage to beat the roamers back to side before the rest, looks like they're setting up for a little bit of a rush, and Sweat is on this double half. He could potentially go for a jump in, timed well by Zebi, who's at the bottom of the white stairs, and Pew with a Blackbeard to try and watch the crosses from that game's window. Looks like they're setting it up really nicely. And look at Papa as well. He's on that kid's rappel. He's ready to go for a fast play. Now, this sort of situation could be good for them. They could be needing to utilize this side of their structured defense, their timings, their very fast plays, to completely catch Nutty off guard. Now, here we go. Pew to find the very first pick. He goes for the second, and he's completely off guard. And look at the claps come out by Trident as they get a flurry of kills against Nutty Gaming. All just one half. The defuse is going down by Zeb as well, and it's all left up to Ajax, and he's well off site by now, and he needs to make his way up the white stairs. Now, the information has been so good by Trident. You got to think that they already know of his position, and the pre-fires will indicate just so, but Ajax will find the kill first, leaving it down to a 1v4 situation. Now, is a lot to ask for, especially when the HP is just being peppered by Trident at the moment. With 25 seconds left, he's going to do another swing up. Pre-fire not to connect though, and he's going to go for a wide swing, but Sweat with a prone position, it's going to clean him up nice and good. And Trident finding their very first round win in what seems like forever.
Yeah, that was a different sort of Trident. Once again, it was a rush play. They didn't have any hard breach, so they sort of had to go for that sort of plays there. But it's not like it was ill-informed. They had the drone work. They had the pings. They knew what they wanted to go for when they exploded, and they took the site flawlessly. None of them dropped. They had the last player drop there, so to stop that flawless round from happening on the post-plant position. But for the most part, Elijah, I'd like to call that a flawless round for them. It was just perfect in the way that it was executed, and it definitely caught Nutty off guard, but it's a shame that it came towards the end, and now it's 4-2 though. We're on the switch up, so not a terrible scoreline to come back from. Only 2 rounds separate them, so I think it's definitely doable. Definitely doable, but we're already seeing Trident. They're running that Goyo, Elijah. They're running it. They're listening.
They know about the sort of util that it can bring. Goyo, on a map like this, especially how Trident plays when they play so aggressive on their roaming as well, to sort of slow down the attack of their opposition team, in this case it being Nutty. If they can manage to buy just enough time and force them to push those late rounds, leave it up to the very last, say, 40 seconds or so, maybe even more, depending on how many Goyos you have left, depending on the execute and how much util they've decided to designate for that specific push, it becomes a huge issue with those Goyo packs burning for 20 seconds, and the amount of damage that it does. If you don't clear out and make it really fast into your execute, you're going to struggle.
For sure, and it looks like they're running double global util here. They're running the Lion and the Dokkaebi, making quick use of it to clear the map, and so far so good. They've made their presence known in this small tower position, and they're slowly clearing that top floor as well, so they're making quick work. And Trident's got to be careful. If they give them too much sort of room to breathe, they're gonna find themselves struggling when they go for that execute, because the more time that Nutty has for their execute, the deadlier it will be. And they're already starting to ping the util of Trident and probably deciding what they want to utilize their own utility to clear for their execute. So I'd imagine very, very shortly they're going to start pressuring the site directly. Halfway through the round, though.
They've got a good amount of util on terms of Trident as well. About a minute 30 left into the round. You've got all of your Goyo packs still available, and we've got those Kiba barriers that Zebi is running on that Azami still up. Now, we always talk about how the defense can completely change up all those hard angles, those hard things to hold down. Having those Kiba barriers up can completely shift that and change that narrative and make it a lot easier for you to hold, because, I mean, look at it already. The angle's coming out, and just on that, Pew is able to find a nice tap onto Ajax and swing the advantage straight into Trident's favor. The calls will go out and reveal the positions, but it's not going to do much with all these crossfires still left up. Angles being set up, Glut's going to take a little bit of HP to that, and it's just due to that Kiba barrier and that angle that they've set up into the laundry that's making it a really hard angle to fight.
Yeah, all these positions opened up. The Kiba barrier is able to give you some pixel angles, and it's too much for Nutty to deal with if they don't choose to prioritize one over the other.
Well, they are setting up for their initial execute. 30 seconds left, and still 5 players alive on the side of Trident. Doing a little bit of damage onto Zebi, though, but Zebi will win the engagement of his own. Bring it down to a 3v5. A Squish is going to bring it back, though, and they'll find themselves another kill. Nutty trying to bring it back and funnel it, as they are only 1-man advantage down at the moment, but the pre-fires and all are not connecting the positions as Trident play just back and passive and wait for that financial fuse. But look at the kills going all across the board for Trident and Nutty, and in the end, Trident will suffice and find themselves another round and take it to that closer scoreboard count.
That is the momentum that they needed, and they were able to find the first round on the defense as well. Obviously, it was that basement site, a little bit harder to attack, as we like to say, but, you know, if you're those rounds down, you need to get as many rounds as you can back. So starting off on that defense, giving yourself that momentum on the switch up is definitely a good choice, and playing off that round win, it makes it one round that separates these two teams. So 3-4. Trident can find this. They tie things up. So they're on that kid's dorm. So another comfortable site for a lot of teams. Now, if they can secure this, it'll be sort of a bit scary for Nutty. You know, losing that big lead that they had and allowing Trident to win 3 rounds in a row. I'd imagine they wouldn't want that to happen. But once again, Pew utilizing this Azami potential. Kiba barriers, they're a pain. A real pain in the backside, and I think if Flores isn't on the board, gotta bring other things to deal with it, and it doesn't look like they really bring all that much. They might have a Gorn 6 on the Lion, but no one else can really clear apart from the nades on Ajax, but you probably want to use the nades to get yourself some kills, I would say, but there is ADSs as well, so much for Nutty to deal with. Can they do it?
Yeah, they're definitely putting them in a rough position in terms of clearing util. You have to choose what you want to sacrifice. Now, that's exactly how you want to leave your opposition, you know, in a tough position to pick between one or the two. Now, Zebi is going to be spotted downstairs, going to deal with one of those Twitch drones this early on now. Don't know if that was a play to throw away that util like that. I don't think you really got any value of it. But let's see what they can pull it off in the end. They are aware of his position, so maybe a potential thought out that could try to clear them off. You see the util coming out really well for Trident in terms of clearing out their own drones, making sure they haven't got too much info against them. But the armory has already been forfeited, and Pew's going to take that first engagement. But downstairs, Squish is going to find one of his own. And already, Nutty finding a good pick.
Yeah, and that's the Goyo off the board. His packs are placed already, but that's his C4 that could be used for the plant later on, below or anywhere to deny it. And he will be off. But you do have the C4 of Mute, so if he's able to stay alive, it can still help. But they're already starting to open up these walls, and hopefully... Did that impact hit? Did it deny the breach? And there we go. We see the fire coming into play, but Ajax, he's creating some fire of his own. He's able to shut down Pew. And now that's your Azami off the board. So no more keeper barriers to be placed. And it leaves Trident in a 3v5 situation. We've seen Nutty in a similar sort of situation. They've been able to make it work. So Trident can definitely do the same. But they've got to do it together.
They've got a good amount of util to use up, though, already smoking off that connector part that splits the two sites together. You can make your way in, and already Shuri finding a very first kill to sort of bring it back into that even playing side, but you're already getting that plant down, Glutz, making the work there. Smokes have already been dissipated now, and you're able to see through and find the angles, and Zebi's going to make quick work of that to deny that plant as well. Finds not 1, 2, but 3 in the end. Raindrops to bring it back to shut him down, but he'll find the 4K. Zebi, the man to have.
Definitely putting in the work in that round. And what did I say? 3v5, but we've seen Nutty do it. Trident right back at you, and wow. 3 rounds in a row now for Trident. Nutty, they're going to be a little bit worried now. I think it's 4-4. It's anybody's game, but losing any more rounds this late into the game, it's crucial. It's crucial. You still have a little bit of room to play with, but you don't want to be on the receiving end of the rounds. And they're going to go to that tertiary site. So we haven't seen Trident play this site yet. We did see Nutty comfortably win this site when they played it. Can Trident do the same, or does Nutty have a better grip on attacking it as well as defending it?
You can see the duality of Siege just coming into play as the smiles and the confidence switch from what was Nutty Gaming to the Trident side. You get to see how hyped they were after their boy Seb able to clear up a nice little 4K to bring him back to a 4-4 even scoreline. So Trident definitely feeling confident. The morale team boost is definitely going to come into play here as they are looking to find themselves one above Nutty Gaming and take themselves their very first lead, I believe. So let's see how this round is played out, whether Nutty can bring it back or Trident. Will they continue their own momentum with having that comfortability of being on their defense?
Yeah, they seem like they're a lot more comfortable on that defense, and not having the clock work against them has been paying off for them. And there we go, the intel being shut down. They are aware of these drones that Nutty are trying to utilize to take control of the map, but it looks like they're going to be all pushing from this small tower side. So we haven't seen too many teams do this all too often. We've seen some people lurk on this side of the map, but not too often you see the whole team clearing it and gaining this control, but it's paying off for them right now. Ajax, he's made his way into security. Can he find the pick? He does. He catches the Kate off guard, but he almost gets taken out by Sweat on the Legion, but damage traded right back at him. And Ducko, he's aware of the Asami, but Zebi does find one onto Ajax, so it's not all lost, but a 4v3 now for Nutty. They're looking a lot stronger on this meeting hall attack.
Trident just being completely unprepared for Nutty's push. It was a very different one, a more dynamic take, rather than just doing your traditional big tower across. Now Shuri's going to try and bring it back, and he will be able to find his very first pick. Tries to go for the second, but he's unable to do enough damage to down him just yet. But the support's going to come back. Shuri will find the second kill and leave it down to a 2v2 now as Glad has made his way into the Zulu halls. 120 seconds left for both of these teams to see if they can funnel out their defense, and Sweat's going to find a pick of his own. Take it down to a 1v2. Now it's switching the narrative up completely in terms of both of these players, but a 1v1 will finish it off. Now Ducko versus Sweat. Sweat, very low HP. He's not in a really good position, but you can imagine that all of these Legion mines that have been set up can reveal the position if he's put it in the right spots.
Yeah, but it all depends on how Sweat chooses to play this. He has to play it safer than Duck does, but he does have impact, so if the plan does go down, he can sort of chuck it for safe position and deny it, but he's going to be careful that he doesn't get baited out. But Sweat playing off the jump through the rotate and gets the better of that, and Trident, they're on an unstoppable sort of clutch as well. Both teams
All
have clutch
aboard the
potential.
Trident train.
Yeah.
There's no stopping them at the moment.
Once again, it's deja vu for Nutty, Elijah. They had the same sort of thing happen last week on Villa, and you know, I don't want to be the caster curse here, but you can see there, Trident, they won the very first round of the game. Then Nutty, they had a response. They won 4 rounds in a row, but now things have switched. Trident, on their very last attack, they won 1 round, and then they've won the following 3 defenses. So they're now in that 5-4 lead. They are 1 round away from that match point. They are in a very, very good position, and they're playing off of momentum. Whereas Nutty, they're playing off on the back foot now. Both teams being challenged constantly on who's going to take it. It's all or nothing. This is the last play day. If you've got anything to show us before playoffs, now is the time to do so. But Trident, so far, they've got more tricks up their sleeves, and they're in the lead.
After coming off winning that tertiary site, they get to circle back and go back downstairs to a more comfortable site, a heavily defensive sided site as well for them. So Trident, they're in a really good position now. Nutty, they have a lot of work to do if they need to win this site. They did a lot of good last time, but against the amount of util that Trident had faced them off, you could imagine that they need to bring a little bit more in terms of dealing with that, because those keeper barriers, those Goyo packs, those double ADSs, not only for Sweat, but you've got that denial of the grenades coming out by your good old Whammis that Papa Taz has run.
We love Whammis.
We love a Whammis.
But yeah, they've got the Jaeger and the Womai.
They double grenading. They're making sure that they aren't getting chucked out of their positions, which is not what Nutty did on their half. You know, they allowed them to have that grenade potentiality. Now we're on the switch up. They're shutting it down. They don't want to have to deal with those grenades or those flashbangs, those smokes potentially as well. They just want to play those gunfights. And on a team like Trident as well, they're very good at that.
They are for sure, and the drones are coming in. Obviously, once again, Nutty, they take this control so quickly when they're allowed to and when they've given the space to do so. And Shuri, he's in a bit of an off angle here, hiding behind the sinks, but he's going to opt to go away from that position. He doesn't want to risk his life. You know, he is in that round advantage. He is 5v5 right now. He doesn't want to be that opening pick, and with the way that the time is going, you know, on a site like this that you can really run down that clock, and with the Goyo potential as well, you even have more potential to do so. But hatches are going to be open. That's going to be the freezer hatch open so far. I'm going to move to start opening up that E-box hatch as well, I would imagine. But when the time comes to it, Nutty, do they have a better grip on their execute this time, or are they going to fall? That is the question.
Well, they are looking to do a different approach by the looks of it, taking out these back stairs, maybe going for a blue bunker and an E-box hatch potentially. As you can see, majority of the players rotating to that big tower side as well, getting that intel onto that pillar player. But Sweat is playing a little bit back. Hopefully that Trident can read into this sort of push. As bunker gets shut down, they've decided to reinforce off that elbow, and this is what Trident are really good at doing. They ran the clock down, got about a minute left into this round, and now all they need to do is play their crosses. Now with all the util they still have left to do, they're sitting in a comfortable position, but the executes still to go down.
Yeah, and they're starting to make their way into bunker. Ajax ready to drop this hatch, but Zebi got some nasty angles. Pew to find the C4 onto Ajax, finding the opening pick. So that's your nade potential off the board. I do believe he chucked one, but had one in pocket. So he's going to be off the board. A very prominent fragger for Nutty as well, but Gluttony, he's going to take some damage and Sweat. He's playing in a rather interesting position here. If he's not cleared out, he can swing and do some damage. And they do have one more line scan. He is going to swing. He is going to down Habana. But 15 seconds, can they get him back up for the execute, or are they just going to go for the trade? There we go, Squish able to find the pick back, but damage being traded out. Pew to find one, he has to switch to the pistol. Raindrops to find Zebi. It's just pick after pick. Elijah Plant's going to go down. 1 second on the clock, but they're going to shut it down. All left to the buck, but no time left. And Trident, they pick up match point.
No time left for Nutty Gaming at all to get their tickets on this Trident train, just running through these rounds as they find themselves onto match point. A 6-4 at the moment lead for Trident, and there is no stopping them. They've done their cycle, they won their downstairs basement, so you can imagine now they're going to go upstairs into that master. Now, if Nutty Gaming, they don't have any answers here, this could very well be our last round of this matchup.
That's the scary thought, right? You know, Trident, they were in a 4-2 they were 4-2 scoreline at half. They were in a 4-1 just before the half, and now they're 6-4. That just goes to show that in Siege, no matter how many rounds you are down, you can bring it back. It is possible. You just can't give up, and Trident definitely haven't done that, and it's Nutty. They have to play it perfectly now. They can't drop a single round. It's only 2 rounds, so it is still doable. But with the way that these rounds have been going, they've lost, what, 5 rounds in a row?
I believe it's 5, yeah. They're really not doing super well on this switch up now, and you can imagine that all the pressure is on them right now because this could be their very last round there. No more mistakes from them, like you said. And they're going to see how well they can put it up. Now, they are running a little bit of difference in terms of util, bringing that fire potential, because they did bring those smokes last time to cut off that middle, but in the end, it ended up just being the downfall for them. It cut off their rotates, and in the end, they had the angles there ready up for them. I believe they got the flank last time, and that's exactly what they couldn't really hold up against Zeb. Now, Zeb, he's playing downstairs again, so he has that potential to go for yet another flank, so you need to try to shut him down. But an attic push, just as last time, is happening again. It will be muted off. You need to bring some of those EMPs. Thankfully, though, Squish has got some in the pockets.
Yeah, but Sweat is playing down here, but once again, he's going to be careful of that lurk up his green hall and not get caught off guard again. I'd imagine he'd be aware of it this time. Raindrops clearing those Goya packs straight away. Run down the clock as soon as you can with those packs, and it won't affect you later on, and it's a good idea to have. They have spotted out the Goya below, so he's going to be careful pushing in here, as he could get C4'd or picked through the hatch. I don't know if the hatch is open, but the first pick, and Taz, he's going to go for a rather risky swing, but paying off for him. Sweat to find a C4 kill onto Rain. It's all falling apart for Nutty right now, Elijah. It's not looking good.
It's not at all. They're stuck down to a rough position of a 3v5 left to pull it back. Will be Squish, Ducko, and Ajax with a minute 20 left to do so, and they've still got so much util left to clear in terms of these Kiba barriers as well. The roam is doing a lot of damage, especially to Squish, as he is able to not funnel out the player into meeting. He's doing just a lot of damage through the floorboards, but it looks like he's going to rotate back to try and go for a flank now. Ajax is going to try to get aggressive, and Zabi's going to do a quick shutdown to take it to a 2v5, and it's looking like it's going to be a flawless for the very last round, as yet another kill goes out, and Pew wins out his engagement to Squish. Now it's a 1v5 left for Ducko, but he's going to find a Claymore kill for himself. With still 49 seconds left, a 1v4 is a lot to ask for, but he will do what he can. He's going to push through the breach, but the vertical play is too much for him, and Trident will take their win.
GG's for Trident, and wow, a flawless defense for them. Oregon, once again, just paying off for them. We saw a 7-0 when they versed, it was Panic, right? 7-0 against Panic, a
yep,
7-4 against Nutty, but a flawless defense. Their defense is just so strong. Their attack, a little bit, you know, questionable here and there. They did have a nice rush towards the end, which sort of set the pace for the rest of the game. That rush, I don't know what it did to Nutty, but they weren't able to win a single round after that on the switch up. So whatever that rush did, it did something for them. And once again, Trident on that win streak. You know, it is the final play day, but they've been winning so often ever since that first win. So very good work to them. You know, Nutty, you fought hard, but unfortunately, you fall too short on that switch up. You played so well in that first half of that game, but it's Siege. Anything can happen, and it did happen. And that is the result. But Elijah, any thoughts about that game at all?
I was really nervous on the very first half. Nutty, your defense against Trident was just so well thought out. Had a really good position to be in, but obviously Trident's defense just being that much harder for you guys to deal with. So, I mean, it's hard to say what the real problem was. Was it Trident? Were they struggling on their attack? Do they need to work on their attack? Or maybe it's gone the complete opposite. So there are so many different thoughts, but to add a little bit of insight to that, we will be having Sal E come for the interview, and he'll be in here just a sec. But I was nervous. Trident, they were struggling really hard on that very first, but they bring it back, and I'm so happy about that. Yeah, I didn't want to see my boys at Trident take a loss, and then they ended up pulling it in together.
We do love the boys over at Nutty as well. Definitely some good blokes, but Trident, you know, they've blessed. We've blessed them. They've blessed us. You know, as soon as we casted them, they've been winning ever since. And you know, we gotta go for the boys at Trident, and they definitely provided in that second half. So it'd be good to see our boy Sali again. We've been able to chat with him every week and see the boys grow. And now that it's the final play day before playoffs, I think it'll be really, really good to you know, have a fat chat and see how he's feeling after that dub and after the entire season.
I just realized something. Trident, they're on a 6-week win streak at the moment, and they just won 6 rounds in a row. I mean, there's something to do with 6. Their lucky number might be 6. I mean, 3 per Trident, right? 3 points per Trident. You got 2 Tridents, you get 6.
True.
They're doing really well.
They've got the double Trident in their hands, with the 6 points, you know.
Pick up the Trident. I like to see it. I'm excited to get Sebi in. He'll just be in just a few seconds. But 7-4. I knew it was going to be close. I didn't think it was going to be like that at all. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a trade. You know, we've seen teams go up against like maybe one round is 4-1, then they switch up, and it's just that sort of close game where you can't really predict which the round is going to go. But it was a very defender-sided game, I got to say.
For sure, and for Nutty, you know, they won 4 defenses themselves, so they definitely did well on that defense. But you know, props to Trident. They were able to find 2 attacks, the only attacks in the entire game. One of them being a rush play on that kid's dorm site. So for that game, heavily defender-sided, and obviously we do talk about how it is defense-sided on that basement side, but for the other sites that were played, it shouldn't have been as, you know, defender-sided as it was. But we saw some misplays from, you know, Trident. We saw some misplays from Nutty. So the scoreline, I definitely think it should have been closer. I think the 7-4 scoreline doesn't show how close some of those rounds really were, and not only for Trident but also for Nutty, you know. And I think, you know, for Nutty, definitely back to the drawing board, see where they went wrong today on a map like that. And it's going to be interesting how the table moves, because obviously 6th place was Trident and Nutty were in 4th place, but now that Trident won and these following matches to come, I wonder where the table shifts after all of these results.
Well, Trident, we have some good news for that, because Trident, they do take that 4th place now that they've taken up Nutty. So Nutty, they will fall to that 5th. Trident will move up to the 4th, and Naughty Sausages will stay into that 6th place. So I'm excited to see Naughty Sausages play their game and see what happens there in terms of the table. But we have Sebi in for the insight of the game that, not Sebi, sorry, for the insight. We'll get him in, and let's get an insight of what the map was like. Now, Sally, welcome back again for the 6th time in a row, I do believe. Very awesome to see your beautiful face again. Now, you guys were struggling a little bit on that first half of Oregon, but that very last round, you took a step back. You were like, hey, let's do this very strategic rush, and it just caught Nutty all off guard. And from there on, you guys won 6 rounds in a row. What was it like on that very first half? Did you guys need to step back and sort of reevaluate things?
From my end, I think like my heart was going up and down, like from both joy to just like despair. Especially because of the sort of work we put in for us to stumble at the last like milestone. I think that first half got me a bit shaky, but the boys are like we've worked on, when things do go wrong, right? Like what are we doing, right? What are we changing up? What do we have to do? And they just did a very good job of doing that during the game.
Yeah, the mental is such a big part of this game, and obviously the mental would have been down for the boys, but obviously you've been doing some work with that, like you said, so it's clearly paid off because they were able to not only come back from that 2-4 deficit, but obviously they were down at that 4-1, and then they were able to win 6 rounds in a row. So something with the mental had to happen there, but we know that you guys have been putting in the work and really working hard. And now that you're obviously going to be in those playoffs, I would imagine, or if you are, I don't know how the table moves, depending on what the last match maybe. But what do you feel like the next step is for the team?
I think going in, like, I think we are definitely confirmed for the playoffs. I think really it's whether or not we're in the lower bracket or the upper bracket. Hopefully, the upper bracket for a few less games. But I think the next steps for the teams, like, right, we've played sort of one way, and we know that that isn't the ceiling. And yeah, I just want to say, I guess, hopefully we'll be able to surprise some teams going into that playoffs who we previously lost to. Yeah.
I could definitely see you guys pulling off some crazy things that you've kept hidden from the rest of the tournament. Now that you've made it to those, hopefully, like you said, the upper bracket or even the lower bracket even. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys definitely surprise it, and I'm rooting for you guys. I've got my fingers crossed every single time that I see you guys go up against. I'm always like to KJ, like, yes, we need this Trident game. We need to watch our boys take yet another win. So you definitely got some fans over here. So you guys are doing really well. But before we head off, though, do you have anything else to say to any teams potentially watching or anything like that?
Just thanking you guys for the cast and thank you for being in our corner. And we did it, right? We went 0-4 to 5-4 right now. So, like, I'm just super happy, and the boys should be also super happy. Thanks for everyone for watching, and thanks to Trident, obviously. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sally, and hats off to you and the boys. You've been putting in the work, and we are definitely proud of you, and it's definitely good to see. But yes, I think in terms of everything, we appreciate you being here, and we'll catch you later. Have a lovely day.
Love that, man. Love him.
We do.
Such a hopeful man. But that is our very first game sorted out and done for you guys, and that is just going to be setting the pace for what games that we have next. So if you guys are keen to stick around for that, we will not be long. But any other words before we head off, KJ?
I'm just keen. I'm keen. It's final play day of the regular sort of season, and I think if that's one match to start us off, I'm really keen to see the following two and see how the results will be, because obviously Chef, he talked about all the possibilities of everything that can happen with the way that the table can move, and I guess we'll see what the actual results and the actual moves will be. But until then, we're going to take that break, and we'll see you guys shortly. But if you want to say it with me, Elijah, stay healthy.
Stay safe, stay hydrated. See you guys later.
See you guys later.